Hey guys, it's Olivie Blake, and this is me not writing. I got my glass of, oh, this is a fuller glass than I thought it was going to be, she says, as if she was not the one who poured it. So, I am feeling much better, bug bite wise. Hopefully my productivity this week has reflected that. There's really no reason to dawdle. I suppose we'll just jump right in. I will be going to the gym after this, hence my fantastic t-shirt ensemble. So, hi Olivie, I watched your old personality quiz video where you correctly identified that the story of yours I prefer are the ones with swoony and partly unrealistic male leads. I vaguely remember this. This one was a while ago, but I've got it. Maybe this is why I currently have strong love-hate feelings about the Commoner's Guide. I don't know what that means, and why I feel uncertain towards my current real-life boyfriend. How can I recalibrate my expectations? Is it too much to ask to be the priority in my relationship, like how Draco chose Hermione? I'm not sure why you have a love-hate relationship with it. I'm a little concerned. That's okay. That's okay, we can do this. Okay, so recalibrating your expectations is a dumb thing to do. Don't recalibrate your expectations. It's not your expectations that need to change. How do I do this? This is... I'm going to talk a little bit about me for a second. It will lead to a point, I promise. So I have this way of, my way of thinking is basically that everything is sort of a cost-benefit analysis. That's true when it comes to work. A lot of times when it comes to friendships and relationships is how much does this cost me versus the benefits I get from it. This is not a great way to do things. The problem with doing a cost-benefit analysis like this is I'm assuming I understand the costs and benefits of things as they are when things in fact change moving into the future. So when it comes to, I'm constantly reevaluating for the record, but when it comes to my career, for example, I have chosen a very difficult one. I want to be a writer, and the odds that I will succeed are just astronomically small. And they also, sometimes the benefits of something can be like the horizon. It's an imaginary line that recedes as you approach it. So I believe that this is the thing I want to do with my life and that it will bring me more enjoyment than it does the current feeling of rejection and the need for validation that I currently have, right? Those are the costs. The costs are very real. The benefits feel very, very distant. What I forget about in this analysis, slash what I have sort of lost the ability to understand that I can't gauge. So basically the mistake that I've made is assuming that I know every possible outcome, right? I'm assuming that I can judge costs and benefits based on what I currently know, but I've forgotten about luck, chance, fortune, hope. I've forgotten about things that don't necessarily have analytical value. So I've forgotten about the fact that luck is basically the probability of random things happening. When I met Mr. Blake, that was luck. I didn't do anything to bring him into my life. I didn't, I can tell you things like, oh, be a person who spends a lot of time working on your relationship with yourself or invest in your hobbies and your interests. But the truth is, it was just fucking dumb luck. I didn't know I was going to meet him. I don't think I was necessarily ready to meet him. I think I learned a lot on the fly when I met him. But that is my reminder to me that I cannot predict everything that happens. And I am saying this to you because I think when you say you want to recalibrate your expectations, you are trying to take this emotional feeling that you have about wanting someone who's going to be that devoted to you, and you're turning it into a cost-benefit analysis. So you're like, okay, I'm lukewarm about my boyfriend. I should rearrange the way that I think about it so that in a cost-benefit analysis, it comes out positive, that the benefits he's bringing to my life are good. And I am telling you, do not do this. I know this is such a roundabout way to do it, and a lot of it was probably just like an ego thing because this is something that I've been thinking about and now I'm making it relevant to your life. The thing is that you can't lose faith in what you want. That storybook love, that romance love, it's unrealistic in that, Draco, as I write him, is like a philosophy gunslinging, motorcycle riding, tattooed guy or the Prince of England. Those things are far-fetched. The way he treats his love interest, the way he treats Hermione, that is real. That's not far-fetched at all. That is a thing that is absolutely within your grasp. You can be with someone who puts you first like that. And you can be with someone who you feel that strongly about. If you do not feel strongly now, that's not because your expectations are off. I feel like, how many times have I suggested people break up with their boyfriends on this? What do I want to say here? Really, this should be a short answer. This should be a very short answer of, don't get caught up in thinking that because the premise of something, of a very romantic story, is unrealistic, that the love that's contained in it is unrealistic, because that is not true. A lot of the stuff that I've written, especially those relationships, those are real for me. All of my ideations of love, I only know the love that I have, and I trust that implicitly. I think that it is difficult to find. I think that it feels like a rarity, but I do not think it is impossible, and I don't think it's too much to ask. Maybe the hate that's coming in with the story is you feel like that's not a love you can have. That's false. You can have it. I don't know if you can have it with the person you're currently with. I don't know anything about this situation, so please don't take this as like hard and fast advice. But the kind of romance that you want isn't impossible. You can't think that it's impossible and therefore you should settle for something. This is where the cost-benefit analysis comes in, right? Like, you have this thing that you know is real and you know it works, and then there's sort of this hazy possibility that maybe there's someone out there that you would feel differently about, that you would feel more strongly about. But the hazy benefit, that's where the horizon comes in, where it's just like, I don't really know if that's something that really exists. I can't prove that it exists, therefore I don't know if I can rely on it. And I get that, because that's exactly how I usually treat things. That's how I think about almost everything. But I think that I, of all people, should know that that is a bad way to live my life. Or not bad, but challenging, because I can't invest in something I really want, which for me is the career that I want, and for you is the relationship that you want. We can't half invest in these things, right? We have to really invest in them. We have to believe that you are going to find someone who loves you the way you want to be loved, and then I'm going to succeed the way that I want to succeed, that I'm going to be able to make a living out of this. And the costs seem very high, right? The costs seem almost impossible, almost insurmountable, almost like, I would say probably insurmountable, except for the chance of that outlier, except for the chance that, like, of chance. Someone's maybe going to see my work and they're going to invest in it. You are going to run into someone someday who might, or maybe this relationship that you're in can turn into something. I don't know that I believe that. I don't want to say things I don't believe. We can't give up hope, basically, is the whole thing that I think I've spent like 100 years trying to say. We can't give up hope. You can't give up the idea that something that feels impossible is out there. I think that it is. I also think that if it wasn't this, it'd be something else. That applies to both of us. I mean, clearly, we are having different quests. We are on different quests at the moment that probably feel equally impossible. However, we can't be wrong, right? This is too important. We can't be wrong. We can't let ourselves be wrong. So let's just do it. Let's just do it. Can you please talk about, oh jeez, okay, hold on. Can you please talk about making friends as an adult? I have a tight group of college friends, but will be moving to a new city by myself. The prospect of trying to meet people alone is very daunting, and I have no idea how to approach people. I'm also worried that other adults have already filled their close friend requirements, and I'll be stuck with lots of superficial work friends, but no one who will be able to fill the role of my current friends. Help. Dude, you and me both. There's two misconceptions I want to address. One, most people make their friends at work. I mean, The Office, Parks and Rec, there's got to be more than that. I know there's more than that. You get close to people that you spend a lot of time with. I don't think that you can necessarily say that your work friends will be superficial. A lot of the good friends that I have made have been at work. You all have the same interests. You're all investing in the same thing. And you have to spend a lot of time together. So I wouldn't necessarily call that superficial. So that's misconception number one. Misconception number two, that other adults have already filled their close friend requirements. No way, man. I have both left friends when I've moved, and friends have left me. Recently, a friend moved away, and it has left me looking around going like, what now? And my point there is, there's no such thing as that role already being filled. People are constantly moving around. Just don't worry about that. Just toss that one out. How to make friends as an adult? Ugh. I think you just have to, it's the same way you date. You have to put yourself out there, which is rough. I personally am trying to figure out how I want to do it because I have noticed that my roster of friends is pretty small right now. A lot of my friends, almost all of them, don't live here. Actually, all of my close friends live somewhere else. So I have to make friends too. And I've been thinking about how I want to do this, and you know, it's hard, especially for me, because I work at home. At least you might meet people while you're at work. But I work like I work right over there. So I don't meet a lot of people. And it's not really acceptable for me to expect to meet people, but that people will just fall into my lap that way. I've been thinking about volunteering for the public library. Not for any particular reason. I just need a reason to get out of my house more. How lame am I? Are you guys really taking advice from me? I don't know that you should. Anyway, I was thinking about volunteering at the library. I also kind of like kids. I used to teach vacation Bible school, and I used to really enjoy working with the fifth graders, which were like the ones that nobody wanted to work with because they're like, they think they're adults, right? Because they're like 12. Kids are easy though. You just treat them like they are adults, and they like that. Anyway, yeah, you're moving to a new city, so this is kind of the same answer I had for the person who's going abroad. This is the time to just not say no to stuff. Try to befriend your neighbors. Proximity is so important. I know that's a really weird thing to say, but like, honestly, if I could have a best friend that lived next door, I would do that. That would be so ideal. One of my best friends, when I lived in Chicago, she lived a block away from me, and that was extremely nice. And when I was in college, I lived in a sorority house, so all my friends were just right there. So I am definitely with you. I'm very used to having all of my friends like around me. And now that they're not, I don't really know how to do that. I guess my number one piece of advice is that other adults are trying to make friends too. It's not just you. I don't think anybody's like, I'm good. I don't need any more friends. I think actually this is something not a lot of people are talking about, but definitely is a very real thing. I think almost every adult that I know, especially every woman that I know, is feeling a little bit lonely or feeling like they're having trouble making other female friends. Just get out there. I used to have this policy when I was dating that I never said no to a first date. I mean, assuming that it wasn't someone like, assuming my like safety was not in danger. I never said no to a first date. I always went, which is why I've been on like gazillions of dates. And I learned so much from all of them, and some of them became my friends, some of them I dated for a while, whatever. I got a lot of experience out of it. And I think this is the friend thing. Just don't say no to a first friend date. That seems like a small thing. Seems like a dumb thing, to be honest. It's funny how like vulnerable that I feel talking about this, being like, I don't have any friends. But it's hard. It's hard. I think you just have to trust that other people are in the same boat you are. I mean, I am, so statistically that is not significant, but I feel like it should be for this specific example. Okay, so this might be wildly intrusive. I think it might be okay since you've been pretty open about it. I don't think it will be intrusive. But there's something really powerful in your openness about having bipolar disorder and the crappy parts of medication and the ways it makes some things work, how lifestyle changes can change the costs and benefits of meds. That expansiveness of thought shows up in so much of your writing. Somehow you keep the threads organized, and there's so much energy and power in that. And you've said that without medication, the 9-to-5 work week isn't an option. Yes, this is something that I've said before, and I'll talk about it again later. Often real costs and benefits get ignored for must meds or but nature, and it's messier than that. The line to the effect, I'd rather be sick of all of me than half of me, was powerful. That is from an excerpt that I will clarify shortly. And you really hit the nail on the head. I hope your book gets published for lots of reasons. Okay. Thank you. And the rest is just complimentary stuff. So this isn't really a question, but I wanted to talk about it here because, as you know, this is when I talk when I'm not writing, and otherwise this could chance being a really long answer. So the excerpt that is being referred to is from Alone with You in the Ether, which is a book that I'm currently querying for publication. And this is a conversation between Regan, who is bipolar, and Aldo, he has clinical depression and OCD, but he is not being treated, and she is. So he asks about her pills. She says she doesn't want to take them anymore. She doesn't like what they do to her, how lost they make her feel. Maybe that's the big secret, that even though she hates her feelings, she'd still rather have them than not. Maybe the enormity of it all is that she hates the highs and the lows, and she knows they're bad, they're not supposed to happen, but she is not herself without them. She misses herself. She doesn't really know who she is, but she wants to know. She wants to find out, and she can't do it with pills. She understands that might be hard for him. Why does it matter what's hard for him? He has nothing to do with it. Of course he does. He has to, because he's signing up to share her brain space, her thought space. Like it or not, the fight they just had, it's going to happen again, and he's going to get sick of her, and she's going to get sick of her, but she'd rather get sick of all of her than get sick of the half her the pills make her feel. So this is very real. These characters are, again, not me or my husband, but that passage is extremely real for me because I have been there. I've been in that feeling of like, I don't remember what it is like to have, well, I guess to back up. Bipolar means I have a lot of volatile emotions. I was medicated for about 3 years pretty heavily, and I didn't really remember what that volatility felt like. And in a lot of ways, that was a good thing. I could not have gotten through as much of law school as I did without being on all those pills. That's the thing, and that's why I point out that you can't, I definitely can't, and I know a lot of people can't, get through a 9-to-5 work week without the help of pills, because you can't afford to be emotionally volatile in an office environment. When you have to just get your work done, that's not something you can afford to be. The artistic temperament is, great to romanticize, but it's not a good way to function in society. It is not a great way to have relationships with other people. Now I'm not on any medication because I don't work a full day in an office, because most of my work is essentially artistic, that a lot of it requires inspiration that I only have when I'm unmedicated. Sometimes people ask me where I get my ideas. I'm bipolar. Half the stuff that pops into my head is like probably not actually sanity. Like it might just be lunacy, but I have tried to turn that into something productive, and when I am able to apply some discipline to it, that works for me. But when my job was to be a lawyer, was to be a criminal defense attorney, that was not going to work. That was not the kind of person I could be. So I was on, I want to say 8 or 9 medications at a time. And the thing about being on medications is it causes side effects of antidepressants, antipsychotics. They are no joke. It is a struggle. I've talked to a few people who have been diagnosed recently and who've started on medications and said things like, I don't think this one works. It takes months, years to figure out what even works for you. These things change all the time. You're on a constant cocktail of things. Medication is difficult and necessary, depending on what you do, what you want to do, what kind of person you need to be able to be from day to day. And that's something that I try to acknowledge in a real way. So Regan, the character who was saying this, she is an artist who cannot really, she feels like she can't make anything that's art-worthy while she's on these pills. But they do allow her to be in a committed relationship, that they allow her to hold down a regular job, because without them, she has a difficult time controlling herself. And that's just the reality of mental illness. And for her, for me, there is a way to channel that into productivity. But it's not something you do alone. Regan in the book is in therapy, and she has some problems. Part of the thing with the book is also exploring her own understanding of her own mental illness and dealing with her own health. because at the beginning of the story, she is not healthy. She's taking her pills, but she is not actively participating in her own therapy. So there's no real results. She's just being stabilized by her medications, but that makes her feel foreign to herself, which is something that I have felt, that I think it's possible a lot of other people on meds have felt. There are definitely people who are like, just go off your meds. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but if I do that, you don't understand what's going to happen to me if I do that. You don't understand what kind of person I'm going to be from day to day. I won't be able to predict it. You won't be able to predict it. It will be difficult. It will be messy. And not a lot of people, even at its most tame, even if it's just, temperamental behavior, even if it's just a little bit of volatility or like a lack of patience or an inability to collaborate, that is going to change the way that you and I work. So that's not a call for anyone to make other than you. And hopefully whatever treatment you are getting, if that's what you need. I don't ever want to get into the point where I'm giving mental health advice as if I am any sort of trained professional, because I'm not. But I do want to just point out the realities. Medications make you a different version of yourself. And usually that's why you're taking them, because the regular version of yourself can't exist. that version just can't exist if you want to get through the day, if you want to make a stable income. That has to be suppressed or controlled. I hate the words I'm using. I want to use different words, but it's hard for me because I felt captive, which is part of the reason why I really hope that writing works out for me, because it's difficult for me to imagine how I would survive being on 9 medications at a time. It's hard for me to talk about. I think it's hard for all of us to talk about. Hopefully you can see that it is, I don't know, maybe it helps for you to see that it is very personal and that it is an ongoing struggle. I often, one of the conversations I had with my therapist when I first went in is, I am not currently on medication. However, I understand that I may not be the first to know if I need medication. So when she asked me what my goals were, I said, my goal is honestly for you to watch me, for you to tell me if I need help. Because I'm not going to ask for it on my own, because I might not recognize it, because that's what happens. That's what happens when I'm in my own disease. I don't really understand what's happening on the outside. So there have been a few times where I have thought, maybe I need pills, maybe I need to go back on them, maybe I need something to help that is outside of me. It is mental illness. It is not my fault when I can't do the mind over matter thing. You can't just fix things with meditation and self-care, It is an illness that you can't control, and it's not your fault. So there have been a few times where I've thought about it. Rarely, but it's always very scary to me when I think I don't have a lot of control over myself right now. But like Regan says, the highs and the lows are what make me a writer. Having those sensations, that's where my inspiration comes from. That's where the daydreams are born, the highs and the lows. So yeah, I just wanted to say all of that in response to you bringing that up. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully that means something to you. Okay, so this is a very important day in that I am deciding after I edit this video whether or not I should cut my hair. If you have any thoughts, you should let me know, because I'm making that decision next week. I would cut it back to where it was, so this clavicle length. So it was there at sort of when I started this vlog. I used to have very long hair, very, very long hair. And then it's very thick. I have extremely thick. I have a lot of hair. You may have noticed that after having watched all of these. But anyway, I can't decide what I want to do with it because this middle length is so terrible and I have just no patience at all. So, and Mr. Blake has no opinion. The one time you want an opinion. Okay, well, anyway. I better get going. So, this has been me, Olivie Blake, not writing. Do I have anything else to say? Nope, that's it. So this is me not writing, and I'll see you next week.